My name is Panna Chowdhury. I'm here with Bala Parthasarathy. We are both traveling to Malaysia to play in the 8th World Carrom Championship as part of Team USA. Bala is not just an excellent player, but he also organizes Carrom tournaments in the US, and he's also the president of the United States Carrom Association. But more of that later. As a player, tell us a little more about your Carrom journey, Bala.
Sure, thank you, Panna. I discovered Carrom as a kid, like most people in India, as a household family game. But I started playing more seriously many years later when I was doing my undergrad. That was still 25 years ago. But at that time, even though I started playing competitively, I did not know that people were playing in this level with World Cup and everything. But then I moved to the US back in 1998, and I did not even know that people played Carrom in the US. And I had a break of about 8 years, and I rediscovered Carrom through some website at that time called Karam.org. And then I found out that people conduct Carrom tournaments in the US. That was in 2005. That was the first time I re-entered the Carrom scene, and you can say rediscovered Carrom in a way. And because I was not a professional player back home, I used to play with the regular amateur grip. I used to play like this. Mm-hmm. And then I came to the US here, started playing competitively. I could see everybody was so much better than me. And then many years later, I changed my grip also to this index finger, which is supposed to be the tournament style grip, which I'm still struggling to master. But since 2005, I have been smitten by the Carrom bug in the US. I have been playing regularly on the US Carrom circuit. And while I discovered Carrom and I started playing and fueling my passion further, I also realized that there could be many other players like me who are passionate about the game but are not familiar with the fact that they play Carrom in the US. So along with many other people such as yourselves locally in the Bay Area, I have also been wearing another hat in the Carrom world as an organizer, right? So since then I've been regularly organizing various Carrom events to promote the game in this part of the world. And as you very well know, me and a few more folks locally founded the Bay Area Carrom Association a few years back. And of course, we've been conducting several different events, both online and offline. And for the last few years, I've also been trying to do, in my own capacity, a little bit more on the greater US Carrom arena. So the US Carrom Association has been existing for about 25 plus years now. And we have a 3-year rotating term of office. Mm-hmm. And for this term, starting 2022, I've been appointed as the president of the United States Carrom Association. Super excited about that as well, that I have my opportunity to contribute to take the game to the next level in the US as well. So long story short, it's been a long and very rewarding journey. So having said that, I also want to take this opportunity to ask you, my Carrom journey in the US started roughly around the same time as you, exactly 15 years ago, almost to this date. You and I were introduced by a common friend. And both of us were very much amateur players at that time. And fast forward to 15 years, here we are, still amateur, but representing the country of USA on the world arena. So why don't you share your Carrom journey as well? I'd love to hear more.
Sure, Bala. Like you alluded to, some 15 years ago, I started playing with you, and we also did a few tournaments in the Bay Area, somewhat smaller scale, a little more disorganized. But then I had to kind of drop off out of the Carrom scene because life happened. But 3 years ago, early 2019, I came back and I saw everyone was still very passionate about promoting Carrom in the Bay Area, and there were many more people that had joined you in that journey. And I started contributing in a little bit, and I started doing some of the back office things like registered Baka as a non-profit, try to get a monthly cadence of tournaments going, and with so many volunteers and so many passionate players, I think in the last 3 years we've done well. We have organized 20 plus tournaments in the Bay Area, a couple of nationals in this area, and most importantly, we have grown a community of players that is not just passionate but has actually improved their level of the game tremendously, mostly with peer coaching, with tips from you, with tips from other good players. I think we have collectively raised the level of the game and the love of the game in the Bay Area.
Okay, great. Thank you, Panna. That's quite a journey.
So having reached this point in the journey where we are both participating in the World Championship, How are you preparing as a player? How are you preparing specifically for this tournament?
Okay, great question and a tough one. In my case, it's largely mental when I think about preparation, because I know myself and I have been often told by other players that I have a tremendous amount of potential. But my challenge has always been whether I'm able to capitalize on that potential. Every time I go into the tournament, I play at a fraction of what I'm capable of. I know that, and I'm struggling to see how I can bridge the gap and play closer and closer to my potential. And I have won several tournaments despite not being able to play to my potential. So I know that it's largely in my head. And what I'm really looking forward to is in the remaining short few days before the World Cup, how can I condition my brain to give me greater confidence and play closer to my potential? So I have won the US doubles title twice already. And 2021 was a great year for me on the US Nationals, yes. And then on the same note, in 2021, I finished as runner-up in the entire North America and finishing as US #1. So even then, mentally, I was not as confident, right? But still, despite that, knowing that I was able to go far in tournaments gives me confidence and hope that maybe beyond what I believe I can do, there is something inside me. So I'm just trying my best to tap into that, and I hope I can bring out my best performance in this tournament.
I'm sure you will. It's amazing that it's not super obvious to people, but Carrom is as much of a mental game as it is a game of skill.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
The fact that you're emphasizing more on the mental aspect of the game tells a lot about that aspect.
Absolutely.
And as you know, I have been lucky to be designated the coach of this Team USA that's going to the World Championship. And one of the things I am also very focused on as a coach is the mental aspect. And our captain alluded to this as the second win, but a lot of the prep that our team is doing is not just improving our skills with a lot of peer coaching, with a lot of collaboration around shot selections and etc., but also around the mental aspects of the game. How do you prepare to play the top players?
Correct.
How do you beat the top players that may be on paper skilled higher than you, but there are strategies you can employ where you just develop a steely resolution and you say, I'm going to win this game no matter what.
Correct. Absolutely true. And you're a chess player yourself, right? So it's all about leveraging your strengths and playing to your strengths, right? So the better player on paper doesn't always have to win, right? Yeah. It's a lot more than just executing and pocketing coins. Right? Yeah. So you're absolutely right. And we're all very grateful for the fact that you bring your many years of experience both in your professional life as well as I know you play many other sports including chess. So a lot of that comes in very handy when you try to share all your experiences with us as a coach.
Yeah, as part of my personal journey in the last 3 years, I have learned how to play better from a lot of people, most of all from you. And the biggest thing I have learned from you is it's not just about pocketing. There's a lot more to Carrom than just about pocketing, and that's where the chess analogy comes in. You're actually strategizing the next 2 or 3 moves that you're going to play. There's a combination of offense, defense, and I've been lucky to have internalized a lot of what you have taught me in terms of coin selection, in terms of sequence of coins, having a goal in mind for every stroke. It's not just always offense, it can be defensive stroke, or you can have a primary goal where you play an offensive defensive shot, all of those things. And I think I've been lucky to see improvements in my game as a result of these strategies, besides just getting better at accurate pocketing.
Okay, so can I ask you a follow-up question to just double click into that a little bit more?
Sure.
Personally, I see you as one of the success stories of all the players in the US team, right? So most of us have been playing for many years, but in your case, you re-entered the Carrom scene and started playing more frequently and with more vigor only in the last 3 years, right? So in terms of how rapidly someone has risen in the ranks of US Carrom, I see you as the biggest success story. So what's your secret? How did you accomplish all you have accomplished in such a short span of time? And here you are, in less than 3 years, you made it to the US team for the World Cup.
Thank you,
Please
Bala.
share your tips.
Coming from that, that's a huge. Coming from you, that's a huge compliment. It's not a secret. It's just like you said, applying a bit of analytics to how you approach the game. One would argue that putting in several hours of practice improves your muscle memory, gets you better at pocketing, but I think this game has a lot more to offer. And you can see results. And the best thing you can do, or at least I have found useful, is to watch top players play. There's at least 6,000 videos of Carrom players displaying their skills, whether in a tournament or out of a tournament in a practice session on YouTube. And I spend a lot of hours watching them, and I try to predict what shot they're going to play next. It's a validation of, am I thinking like them or am I not? And what I've seen is, over time, my prediction has improved a lot. There was a time when I used to be able to correctly predict maybe 10%, but now it's getting closer to 90%, which is, like great validation of, am I thinking like them? I think that's a huge, that's a very important thing to focus on. The second thing I found personally useful is to play with players of your caliber and try to understand why did you choose this shot over something else. Sometimes it's counterintuitive, and I found that players like you, Preeti, Madhu, and at a national level or North American level, Louis and Sravana and Ranjit and others, they all have a unique style, a unique way of thinking. And what makes me or anybody else play better is to absorb what we think we can apply from their game. For example, Louis has an awesome break. Can I break like that? You have an awesome offense defense game. Can I play like that? Players like Kalyan and Ishan, they are super accurate in pocketing. Can I play like them? And then there's a method to the game that Ajay brings or Ranjit brings to the table. What is it that I can absorb? So end of the day, I can proudly say that I have tried to assimilate all of those elements of their games into mine, and I've seen results. And maybe that's what you're alluding to when you say I've improved.
Fantastic answer, Panna. I wish I had half your discipline and systematic approach to the game. All right, thank you so much.
Bala, one last question. You are the president of the United States Carrom Association. In that capacity, what are the things you're doing to promote the game? What are the things you plan to look forward to in terms of in that capacity in the World Championship and in the next 2-3 years in general?
Okay, yeah. So USCA, at least for our term, we have very specific stated goals, right? So obviously the overarching mission for USCA is to promote the game of Carrom all over the United States and worldwide, right? We are trying to elevate the game of Carrom itself in the overall world of competitive sports, professional sports. So to that effect, I see events like the World Cup playing a very key role, right? And these events also act as great opportunities for Carrom federations from different parts of the country to come in and gel well with each other and form these bonds and relationships, right? So that's something I'm really, really looking forward to. As proud and excited I am as a player to have the opportunity to represent Team USA in the World Cup, I'm equally excited to be there in the capacity of the president of the United States Carrom Association. Because, Carrom as a professional sport has been played for about 75 years now. And the United States Carrom Association has existed for about 1/3 of its duration, right? About for the last 25, 26 years. But still, despite all that, so many years Carrom has been played, Carrom is still kind of seen as a second tier sport. We haven't really broken through into the mainstream, right? And one of our number one goals for the next 2 to 3 years is to see if we can shatter that glass ceiling and take Carrom to the next level, right? To get it into the mainstream. And you can see us wearing all these Willow TV, etc., right? So getting corporate sponsorships and getting more visibility into Carrom in the mainstream, those are all different techniques we want to use and get Carrom out there. And on that note, I'm also incredibly excited that for this World Cup, even though we have been fielding teams from the Team USA for the last so many years in every single World Cup and World Championship, this particular year marks historical firsts on several fronts, right? Firstly, this is the largest contingent ever to go from the US. We have 12 players 8 men and 4 women that are representing Team USA. This is the first time. Usually we have less than that, less than 10. And second, for the very first time in the history of United States Carrom Association, we have a corporate sponsor, Sling TV, a big name, partnering with us and sponsoring Team USA for the World Cup.
Oh, that's awesome.
We are extremely grateful to that as well. Right? These are all extremely great positive signs that are indicative of the direction that Carrom as a sport is taking in the US, right? And I'm sure it's not the end of all the historical firsts. We have never had a podium finish, and I'm extremely hopeful that we're going to come back with a bunch of trophies, especially in the women's category. Preeti is a big hope for us, and not just Preeti, but all of us, right? So we all should take extra bags, empty bags, and come back with all the trophies. Mark my words.
Good luck to you and good luck to the entire team, Bala. Thank you
Panna.
for such a nice, insightful conversation.
Same here. I'm amazed that it was just 15 years ago that we met on the Carrom board as friends and amateur hobby players, and here we are talking about the World Cup and traveling to Langkawi, Malaysia.
Yeah, looking forward.
Super excited.
Looking forward to the next 15 years, Bala, of caroming with you.
Perfect.
Take care.